Hey everybody, it's Brian Costello from Core Mental Health Counseling here in Buffalo, New York. Just wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about some contemplative practices that have been really helpful for me over the years and I think would be really helpful for people right now. So that first one that I wanted to talk about is journaling. So journaling kind of helps get our thoughts and our emotions out onto paper, and so that we don't have to kind of continue to ruminate or think too much about them. So a practice that I like to use is it's a little bit of a practice out of Internal Family Systems by Richard Schwartz. And that is kind of sit quietly and tune into, just really start to pay attention to your body. And if you notice any area of discomfort or any tension, you actually bring your attention to that area and kind of pretend that you could hand it a walkie-talkie and like you're striking up a conversation with this part of yourself. So if you are feeling like a little bit of nervousness in your stomach or pressure on your chest, or your shoulders are, raised a couple inches, really just tune into that feeling and just ask it some questions, and really kind of start to identify like how you're feeling and where are those feelings coming from and what are your true thoughts about this, and really kind of lean into some of those feelings. So I think that for most of us, we're pretty accustomed to moving quickly and moving a lot. They say it's actually a trauma response to kind of never stop moving, but I think it's a natural response for most of us in our day-to-day. And so they say that our mind is in a constant state of seek pleasure and avoid pain. And I think one way that people kind of avoid some maybe emotional turmoil or stress or just kind of the cumulative effect of life is to really not sit still. And we are being forced to sit still right now. And so I think I think a lot of people are struggling with that. That it's not necessarily our choice right now, even though we have this awareness that we're doing this for the greater good and for the ability to keep our community safe. I think it's still very difficult to sit still when we're used to really moving quite a bit. And so the second meditative or contemplative practice that I wanted to mention is actually meditation. So there's many forms of meditation. I have been sitting in meditation circles for over a decade now, starting meditation circles and leading meditation circles in usually treatment groups. And so one of the things that I mention to a lot of people, I always ask, have people meditated before? And oftentimes people say, I try it, but I can't because I can't get my brain to stop thinking. What I always tell people is that is like saying, in order to meditate, you have to have your heart stop beating. Your brain thinks, that's what it does. They say part of our brain is like a recording system, and then we wake up in the morning and we press play and it just always goes. They say the average human being has about 50 to 70,000 thoughts in a day. It's kind of like a broken record, or I always compare it to elevator music. So it's not going to stop because you decide that you want to sit still for a couple minutes. So what we try to do is actually, the term that they use to describe this is called metacognition. It's becoming aware of your own thinking. So stepping back in your attention and watching the thoughts kind of go across your awareness, almost like clouds passing through the sky. So we can do this in a number of different ways. So I like to try to find an anchor in meditation. The anchor can be your breath. It can be when you close your eyes and you see that black screen in front of your eyes. Your anchor can be that sense of that kind of color black. And you want your anchor to be something in the present moment. So something I like to do in meditation when I facilitate meditation groups is a deep relaxation. I think when your body starts to feel really relaxed, when you start with your toes, you really relax your toes, you relax your feet, your legs, your torso, etc. Usually takes about 10 minutes in a group. And then you really try to relax your body, and then your mind will start to follow suit. So I like a deep guided relaxation. There are tons of them on the internet. with some nice soothing music to go with it. The other form of meditation, some people would call this Vipassana meditation, and Vipassana meditations are held all over the world. They're 10-day silent retreats for free, and they are true mindfulness meditation. So I've practiced mindfulness meditation for a number of years, and I wanted to share just very quickly the story of really like learning to stay. A few years ago, I was sitting in meditation, and I had really developed, an awareness that I was like craving. I don't even remember what it was for, but I was craving something, and I wanted to learn to sit with this feeling. So I sat with that feeling. So I sat with that feeling of craving, and it kind of felt like anxiety. It kind of felt like longing. There was something like really gnawing at me. And so I sat with that feeling, and that feeling came to the surface. It actually increased. So that feeling of craving really increased. And then what also really increased was a sense of anxiety. So it's almost like my brain was just like trying so hard to get me to stand up from the couch and not really focus on this stuff, and like get moving, and I got stuff to do, and I have X, Y, and Z, and so I really sat with that feeling, that urge, that action urge, and I sat with that long enough, and eventually it went from my gut, which is usually where I get anxiety, to my heart, to all over my body, to my face, to everything, and it was almost so overwhelming, and I just stayed with it. I stayed present. I didn't get up. I just was 100% conscious awareness about the experience that I was having, that I am not, but I'm having it. So there was a mindfulness approach to this. And what ended up happening is it became so overwhelming, and it felt like every cell in my body was encapsulated with this feeling of anxiety, and eventually it just dissipated. It hit me so hard that it just actually dissipated. It was gone. And it was a moment of like peace. And then right after, what was underneath that anxiety and that craving was a sense of emptiness, and a sense of despair and really grief, and I felt that feeling. And then that feeling I stayed present with, and that expanded and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and so overwhelming and crushing, and I started to realize, wow, this is really some of the feelings that I move away from on a very regular basis, And so I sat with that feeling long enough where even that feeling became so overwhelming, so embodied, and then again dissipated. And underneath that was a wellspring of just peace, was something that I think most of us are looking for all the time. They say that we are born into this world and we immediately forget the source, and then we go looking for it. And there are a lot of things that we look for in this world. We try to find that source, whether it's inside of us, whether we call it God, the universe. I don't know that it really matters. Our soul, our spirit, our consciousness, but I think that we are all looking for it. And I think that it's like a maze right now. We keep chasing it in a lot of different ways, and there is something that I think if we sit long enough, that we'll find it. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out. I'm thinking of doing maybe a meditation, maybe we do a live one, or I'll just do a recorded guided meditation. If anybody's interested, please reach out. And I hope everybody is staying safe and trying to stay well during this time period. So again, thank you very much for tuning in.